What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be how to drive a manual transmission. So one of the first things you're going to notice in a car with a manual transmission, there's going to be 3 pedals. So the one all the way to the left is going to be your clutch, the one in the middle will be the brake of course, and then the gas. And for reference, here's the shifter. It's a 6-speed. The 2014 Mustang GT comes with 6 gears, not including the reverse. The location of the reverse will be different depending on which car you drive, but it should be relatively the same. So here you can see the depiction on the shifter, what location each of the gears is in, to give you an idea of where you're going to have to put the shifter when you need to shift chronologically from 1 to 6. So to start to familiarize yourself with the car, if it's your first time sitting in a car that's a manual, if it's your first time actually putting your foot on a clutch pedal, as I was learning to drive this car, I slowly started to figure out my own way of driving it, little things that I found. Everybody always told me, you know, you gotta let your foot off of the clutch at the same time and add the gas at the same time simultaneously. And that would kind of mess me up because then I'd go too hard on the gas or not fast enough out with the clutch, and I'd just sit there revving the car or like slipping the clutch too much. And it was kind of annoying. But one thing for me that I learned was you can let the clutch out slowly and move the car without even touching the gas. So a big thing with learning manual transmission is learning where the clutch actually grabs, because the clutch is going to have a lot of movement. It's not like a gas pedal where you don't really have to have that much. You could just move your ankle and pretty much move the car. But with the clutch, you're pretty much using your entire leg. You're pushing it all the way down to the floor and pulling your leg all the way back up. So knowing where the clutch actually has to be for the clutch to actually make contact to get the car to move is kind of an important part with learning how to drive a manual transmission. So one thing you can actually do is you can go ahead and push the clutch in, put the car in first gear, and you can just slowly let off of the clutch, and eventually you'll feel the car start to roll forward. The car is actually on a slope right now, so it's moving forward, of course. But if you let out the clutch very slowly without even touching the gas while the car is idling in first gear, the car will actually start to roll forward. You'll hear the RPMs actually start to dip down, of course, because now it's pulling load off of the engine to start to move the car forward. But that'll give you an idea of where the clutch actually starts to grab. And the hardest part with actually learning to drive a manual transmission is, aside from learning where the clutch grabs, is getting that transition off of the clutch into finally being able to drive the car with the gas pedal. So as you do let off of the clutch and the car starts to move slightly, you can then just I just like to tap the gas. Some people say just, hold the RPMs to maybe 2,000 or whatever. I personally just like to tap the gas a few times. I just find it super easy instead of trying to figure out how far I need to hold the gas pedal to keep it at a certain RPM range. So I literally just tap it a few times and I pull the clutch out to that point where, you start to feel the car start to grab, where it starts to move. And then at that point, you can just slowly let the clutch out pretty much, and the car is already moving. So once that hardest part is done, you pretty much know how to drive the car. At that point, it's just pushing the clutch back in, putting it into the next gear, and then pulling the clutch out. And it's just so on and so forth with everything else that you need to do. So let's go ahead and drive 1 or 2 laps around here, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So here I'm in neutral, and I'm just going to push the clutch in first, put it into first gear, tap the gas a few times. I'm slowly letting out the clutch. I see this car start to move, and now I can just slowly pull the clutch out, and now the car is moving. And that's really all there is to it. And then when you want to actually shift, it's the same thing. Take your foot off of the gas, push in the clutch, put it into second gear, and pull the clutch out. And you can get back on the gas and keep driving, do whatever you need to do. I have a feeling other people probably have a similar approach to doing this. Nobody ever really explained this to me while I was learning. It's just something that I picked up as I started to practice. One thing I also want to mention too is with a manual transmission, you're going to be in neutral a lot. So like if you park or if you're just at a standstill and you're at like a red light, if you're on a hill at all, like how I was right before I started going forward, like right now if I let off the handbrake, the car's starting to roll, and obviously that's not a good thing. You could roll into a person or another car or something you don't want to hit. So you're going to want to always remember to either have your foot on the brake, or if you're parked, pull up the handbrake, because it is easy to forget and have the car start to roll into a situation you don't want to be in. Likewise, if you're on a hill, say you're at a red light and you actually want to go forward and you're on a hill or something, there are some manual transmissions where if you are in neutral and you have the brake pressed, I believe that there is a condition in some vehicles that'll actually lock the wheels so you don't roll back when you let off of the brake, so that way you can actually push the clutch in and put it into gear and actually get the car going without just rolling into the car behind you, which is a real fear depending on the slope that you're on. So in case your car doesn't have that, or your car doesn't do that, you're gonna have to be a lot more aggressive with how quickly you let out the clutch. You can't baby it as much. So I would just be wary of where you're driving if you are a new driver, at least with manual transmissions, because that could end poorly for you if you do end up backing into somebody. Also, just to make sure I covered all the bases here, if you do need to come to a stop, and say you got into third gear or fourth gear, or if you're coming to a red light and you need to actually stop the car, all you really need to do is just push the clutch in, put it back into neutral, and you can just press the brake and slow down. If you're in neutral, the car will stay still, you won't move anywhere, you can idle, and it's safe. But the basic principle is, if you need to actually drive the car, you push the clutch in, put it into gear, then you can release the clutch and actually start to try to move the car. And once you actually are driving, if you need to shift into the next gear, you push the clutch in again, put it into second gear, for example, and then let out the clutch again, back on the gas, keep driving, etc. And eventually, let's say we're in second gear, we need to come to a stop, you would just push the clutch back in, put it into neutral, which is just literally the middle here. You can see that the shifter will move. If you're in gear, the shifter will not move because it's locked into a gear. Once it's in neutral and you need to come to a stop, you can now just let out the clutch and press the brake and come to a stop just like normal. So just to make sure I covered all the bases there, I just wanted to let you guys know. So that'll pretty much be it for the video here. I just want to make it short and sweet. Hopefully this is of value to some people, and thank you for watching. See ya.